Battlefield Podcast.
Hey everybody, it's Ola, aka Chalk One from Battlefield Podcast, with a couple of people here in a call on Skype, and we're going to talk a little bit about some news that was posted today by EA, and that is that the Walt Disney Company and EA have announced that they're going to be working together on a multi-year exclusive agreement to develop and publish new games based on Star Wars, which is kind of exciting because that also means if you were on Twitter at all today and you follow anybody at DICE, you would have seen about 100 retweets about DICE working on some Star Wars titles in the future, which should be interesting. But first of all, let me introduce sort of our mini panel here. First of all, we got Tim, aka Darkness429. Hey Tim, how's it going?
Hello.
Oh, hey, hi. It's different.
Not very different for me.
No, different from what people in the channel are used to. Not different from what we're used to. And that was Tony, aka Why Not the Tiger. Hey Tony, thanks for joining us.
No problem.
And we also have Scannerbarkly.
What's up? Scannerbarkly, aka less. That's how I'm going to roll from now on, I think.
So Star Wars, obviously as a brand, there's been quite a few first-person shooters in the past. I'm thinking of some of the Jedi Knight games and also some of the MMOs, and probably the one that people are most associating with what DICE might be working on in the future is the Battlefront series. Tim, you said you've played the first two of that, and actually I'm hoping that this video will have some Battlefront 2 footage in the background playing right now. If not, then I failed. But what was Battlefront like? Was it any good?
It was, think during the times of Battlefield 2, and kind of coming off the tail end of Battlefield 2 and 2142, Battlefront was pretty much the Star Wars version of Battlefield. That was when, the same idea. You had your different checkpoints. They didn't use flags. They used other locations to capture. And then you had the iconic maps from the movies. You had Tatooine. You had trying to think of some other maps. You had the Sky City. You had Tatooine, you had Hoth, you had a bunch of other places that were very iconic throughout the movies. And then you had different classes. You had the same as Battlefield. You support your medics. You had a Jedi. You had recon. So Battlefront focused on the first one focused on the Rebels versus the Empire, and then the second one kind of rolled it back under the Clone Wars. So it was the clones versus the robots.
So it should be kind of interesting. I think Battlefront 3 was in development until recently, and then a bunch of people were let go, and that was all closed.
Well, I mean, there was rumors that it was in development. That we also had a teaser trailer of some sort. It was very short, and everyone was like, "Oh, this is Battlefront 3. This is Battlefront 3," and that's all we saw. And then once Disney took over, or I should say acquired LucasArts, they put all of their video game development on halt. The one of the games I can think of is 1313. That everyone was looking forward to that one, and then it just disappeared. It's gone because Disney killed it, and everyone thought that that's what was going to happen to Battlefront 3, is that it was just going to go the way of the dinosaurs.
Well, it seems like DICE would be the perfect fit. What do you think, Tony? Do you have you played any Star Wars games in the past, or do you see a lot of potential here?
The game that I played as far as shooter wise, I think it was called Dark Forces 2. It was way back in the day.
Yeah, that rings a bell, sort of vaguely.
Yeah, well, basically, I think you were like some sort of, a star or a stormtrooper or something, or maybe you were like a rebel who sort of had like a spy or something. But that's my only experience with any Star Wars first-person shooters. Other than that, I don't really have much experience. I never played any of the other Star Wars games, just because I didn't have a PC that. Actually, was it Xbox? Did it have it on? Was it on Xbox Battlefront?
It was on Xbox, and it was also on PC.
Okay, yeah. So that's probably why, because I was PS2, PS3 by then. So I don't really have an experience. I've seen some gameplay. I think it was the Puppy posted some Star Wars footage. I think it's been a while, but I would be intrigued. Like I did that commentary not too long ago about how it would be nice to see these guys or gaming just move in a different direction and like head towards these like major franchise games. Because I mean, like, look at like Star Wars. If this is an indication that Star Wars is going to come back, what better gaming developer than DICE to put together a shooter game for Star Wars. And then you look at maybe Star Trek. I keep saying I'd love to see a Star Trek first-person shooter, like a really good one. And with DICE kind of being the hot premier first-person shooter developer now, it seems like a really good fit. And if it's anything like a Battlefield game, I would pick it up. I mean, I like Star Wars well enough. I'm not a huge fan, but I would really love the change of scenery and get into some Star Wars like action.
Yeah, we just talked about that not too long ago, actually, with you guys about how Battlefield 4 is still going to be in the modern era, and whether or not something's going to be going outside of that, whether it's back in time or out in the future. Star Wars is like, it's nice. It's a ready-made universe. You just plug right in and go.
It's got its own canon, and it's got its own following. It'd be great.
Like, EA have the Old Republic anyway, so it's not that much of a shock that EA end up being the ones handling it. And it's nice that it's gone to an actual, this is going to sound strange, but it's nice that it's gone to an actual publisher and an actual developer, as opposed to the, for many years, THQ model of just snapping up whatever the rights were, you know, to be found to make like a quick buck off a fucking Avatar game or something like that. Because Lucasfilm, like a lot of their games, or LucasArts even, a lot of their games were horrible. Like really horrible games that probably never should have existed for the safety of like children everywhere who buy and play games. But a lot of them are really good as well. So there is a bit of a legacy to be carried on. And then it's the fact that it's DICE who have experience creating those moments that you want to hit in any kind of campaign, single player or co-op or whatever it may be. Because if you want to do this shit up right, you need destruction. Simply due to the scale that Star Wars takes place at. Imagine if you're like in a mission in the DICE Star Wars game, and it's on a dusty planet with all these little motherfucking houses everywhere, and there's these AT walkers stomping through them, and they're smashing them up and breaking them all, and bits are flying everywhere, and you're trying to zoom through them on a speeder bike. That would be a pretty good sequence in a game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you know that the one thing DICE does really well with Battlefield is that whole combination of ground, air, vehicles. It's all combined, right? Which is really sort of what that game needs, whether it's speeders or I don't know if they could incorporate ground battles with, you know, X-Wings and TIE fighters and stuff like that, but
it'd be so sweet.
Well, it could be like the Battle of Hoth. You could have those, what are those, like speeder aircraft thing that Luke Skywalker flies. Oh, sorry about that. And you can have like the little AT walkers, you know, and gives them something to shoot at and blow up like a tank, you know. I don't think it'd be hard for DICE to be like, how can we make these Jesus Christ. Yeah, text message coming in. Sorry, guys. I don't think it'd be hard for DICE to take the Battlefield. Now, I would hate to say it's because people might go like, well, they're just reskinning Battlefield 3. But I don't think it'd be hard for them to take the concepts of Battlefield and translate those into Star Wars.
Plus, the concept of working within a science fiction kind of setting might light the fires for a bit more Battlefield 20 whatever.
Oh, yeah.
You know, we got to look at all these positives. Like me, I think it's a good thing. DICE, they're a good developer.
Yep.
You can't say they're not. They're very forward thinking, and they're, you know, quite dedicated to their vision. So I might not always agree with it, but fuck me, like I don't make games and earn millions of dollars.
True. And the one thing about, you know, people like to hate on EA, but when you look at it in terms of publishers with money, EA is right at the top there. So if you're looking to give this franchise to a publishing house that is going to create not just one title and then sell it, not make the sales and die like we've seen before, you know, EA is going to be there. And it's not only DICE. I think the other company, the other developers, Visceral, is also going to be working on Star Wars titles. So I think for any Star Wars fan, this would be good news, because it means at the very least that, you know, EA is going to push out a few games.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
One of them has to be good, right?
They'll be hit somewhere.
Yeah, you know, it's like something's got to work. But like, yeah, it's good. It's better than seeing what was my fear, was that it was just going to be all of a sudden everything was going to be getting shut down. except for things that tied in directly to the movie, by which I mean those horrible tie-in games that people make, like the new Star Trek game.
That come out the day the movie comes out kind of thing. And
yeah, and it's like they try and make that extra cheap, quick buck off it. And that's it. The game is a horrible game and gets no support. And, may as well not even have existed. It's just that you're a bit sad at the ruined potential of what could have been. So thankfully it's not that scenario though. EA, they get a lot of shit and all the rest of it, but at the end of the day, they put out some good games.
Well, maybe there's potential for some of those developers that worked on Battlefront before they all got let go to, find a new home at DICE or Visceral or wherever. Because you got to imagine that they're going to need to expand their teams. If they all of a sudden get the prerogative from EA to, whatever it is, you got to come out with 2-3 new Star Wars titles in the next 2 or 3 years. They're going to have to get some extra people to work on.
Yeah, especially if they're working on Battlefield series at the same time.
Yeah, and it's not as if they're not going to let them stop doing Battlefield. It's like, just take a break from that $100 million game. Don't worry about it. You know what would be fun as well? If BioWare were, allowed to do something else. I know they did the Old Republic and all, but I'd like to see them. I would like to see personally 1313 resurrected by BioWare.
Me too. It looks sweet.
That would be my dream team.
I want to see BioWare make a Mass Effect-like version of Star Wars. Because I don't think I've played a little bit of the Knights of the Republic. It's just not the same. It just doesn't feel the same as a Mass Effect game. I want to see like a Mass Effect type game for a console. I guess, it worked great for PC, but I really want to see it. I think that would be great.
Well, Mass Effect always, to me, it was almost like you're playing a movie. It's so cinematic. The whole, all the way through the story and the cutscenes, and doing something like that with a Star Wars theme, you'd have to imagine just the fan base alone. That's got to be a guaranteed moneymaker and a sort of guaranteed win, unless they really screw it up.
Well, and here's the problem that I see is that the canon, like the story, and I think that's what a lot of people liked about that LucasArts had control of it, is they were able to control the mythos of Star Wars. And I actually think it's time now with is it J.J. Abrams is doing the new Star Wars movies?
Has that been announced?
I'm not sure, but I've heard rumors. Anyways, now that George Lucas doesn't have full control over this, it's nice to be able to get other people involved and create new, fresh stories.
Yeah,
and I think that'll be
the universe.
Yeah, and I think that'll be the same way. That's going to be the same way now that other like actual gaming. I don't want to say that actual gaming developers, because LucasArts was a gaming developer, but of only Star Wars stuff. So it'd be nice to see other publishers within the industry develop Star Wars, themed games.
Exactly, other influences.
Yeah.
Guys who grew up, they watched Star Wars when they were kids, and they watched Terminator when they were kids, and they watched all these like classic but very different films and very different games, and that melting pot infused into something as awesome as a Star Wars can be, it could be fantastic.
Yeah, because what person hasn't always had a dream of making a Star Wars story or a movie or short film or now a game?
Or punching George Lucas in the face. It's all been dreamed. It'd be great. Maybe they'll have like a couple of Easter eggs in there, and one of them will be like a George Lucas Easter egg.
That would be funny.
That you can punch in the face.
Right.
That would be pretty cool.
Well, we'll see over the next few months, I'm sure, as we'll find out what's going to be coming down the pipe. I know that obviously nothing specific or even any timeframes have been announced, but it was interesting and kind of nice to see the excitement from a lot of folks at DICE. Like I follow a lot of them on Twitter, so when that came out this morning, my whole Twitter feed was just filled of stories of this, and a lot of them were developers or people who work at DICE getting really excited about that. And like Roland, for example, he got really excited. Asked him, so are you stoked that you're going to get to make video game trailers and stuff like that about Star Wars things? And he's all into it. So it's always good when people are motivated to do these things. And maybe at LucasArts in the past, it was a little bit of, so we're making another Star Wars game because we've only done 15 the past 8 years. So it might be nice to get some fresh blood in there and get some people who are excited to do this. So
Wouldn't you guys think like an ETA on a Star Wars game would be?
If they're only announcing it now, that means they've known for a while, and they're getting their groundwork done. But I don't
2
see
years.
anything coming out within the next year and a half.
Yeah, and you know the Frostbite engine or whatever. I mean, you'd have to think that obviously DICE is going to use a Frostbite engine. And
Yeah.
So that stuff's there. So it's really more about the top layer of the game.
When did Disney buy LucasArts?
Around it was
Was it like
around
less than 6 months ago?
well, it was around like April or so.
Oh yeah, well, it was
March or
rather
April.
recently,
It wasn't that long ago, and it was funny. I was just YouTubing Battlefront 3 just to see what was on YouTube. And apparently,
Okay.
Kotaku actually had some leaked Battlefront 3 video that was from LucasArts while it was still in development before it got canned. So I'm wondering if they're going to be able to use any of this to kind of build off of, or they're just going to start from scratch.
Because you can probably assume that since the day the sales first started being talked about in corporate offices, that Disney were talking to EA because they'd have to be,
Sure.
you know, due to the whole Star Wars The Old Republic existing and suddenly becoming part of their property that EA also had contractual links to. So they've been talking to him for a while, and EA were like, oh shit, man, we get to talk to Disney. We can make some bank. So, you know, you'd say they've been talking about it for 6 months and probably only planning anything for about 30 days would be my assumption. So everything now is just kind of, look, this is what's happening. We're going to generate some hype. If they've got like plans to resurrect something like 1313, which had a lot of work put into it, you could see something a lot sooner.
Unless it was like this, you know, like in the corporate world, I'm pretty sure that Lucas knew that Disney was going to buy him out well before, you know, the talks were underway, well before we actually found out. I wonder if Disney was talking to EA like, hey, by the way, we're going to buy LucasArts. We want a game within 2 years' time. So maybe by next fall, we might have a game.
See, they'll have a game. They'll have a shitty tie-in game that goes with whatever movie comes out.
Isn't there a movie slated like 2015 or something like that?
Yeah, all that
Really?
stuff will
That's so
still
soon.
happen.
Yeah, and I'm sure that some of those games are going to be coming out. I mean, there's going to be more games. Disney still retains rights to certain titles on mobile and social categories, so you're still going to see those. They're probably not going to be made by EA, though. But, I mean, EA
No,
is so
not at
big.
all.
When you say EA, they do everything from iPad, iOS games to, you know, to the big-name titles. So, but yeah, I think it's going to be cool. I think we'll get to look forward to some new Star Wars games in the past. Because I remember, and Tony, you talked about this before, about how you've played some cool Star Wars, you know, the space battle games in the past. And
Oh yeah, like X-Wing versus
Yeah.
TIE Fighter.
so
I
it'd be cool to
remember
see
that.
some of that.
Those were great games.
Yeah, I was back in the old PlayStation 1 days.
Well, I played them on a computer, so I don't know if they were on PlayStation
Oh.
1 or not, but they were just fun. They were
PC
just
elitist.
I know, back in the day. back in the day with my Pentium 2.
Yes. Your 75 megahertz processor.
Yeah, it was a beast. It could run TIE Fighter, yo.
All right, I guess we'll see what comes down the pipe in the next few months, and let us know in the comments what you guys think and what you guys expect from a Star Wars game developed by DICE. I think it's going to be very interesting. So I want to thank you guys for hopping on in this little mini panel and having a little chat about it. And
No problem.
Thank
the
you
links
kindly.
to your YouTube channels in the description as well. And yeah, let us know what everyone else thinks in the comments. Thanks again, guys.
Bye-bye.
Potatoes.